Hey, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. Alan Cashman going to join us here in just a second and to give you those picks. I am on I'm on my smartphone right now because I got in the office and realized there was a little deal in there where you have to, it starts to, what is it when it updates the software on your computer? And it's taking a lot longer than it should. So starting off, like I said, I didn't want to miss the 6 o'clock show here. And Alan Cashman going to join us here, hopefully real soon. And we'll get Alan on and let's see here. Okay, when you're doing this on your phone, it's a little bit different, okay? Because you have to worry about holding your phone and all that good stuff. Anyway, Alan Cashman going to join us here momentarily, I hope, and we'll get him on. We'll get your his picks, but we want to know what games you're really interested in. He's going to give you the ones that he's interested in, and let's see here. Looks like okay. I want to make sure we're doing this right. Alan, I hope we got you on there.
I'm here.
Okay, okay. Hey, I'm having to start off on my phone. Have you ever had one of those deals where just when you're getting ready to go on the computer for something important and it starts loading software updates?
Yep. Updates. Yep.
Hey, I like your background, man. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
You had a good one last week with the X's and O's. Now you got one with the. Is that the Colts Stadium in the
Yep.
background?
Lucas. Yep. Lucas Oil Stadium.
Lucas Oil. Was just here a couple summers ago with my son. You know who Rick Mount is?
Basketball player.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
We went to Rick Mount's camp up in Westville.
Yeah.
That big area up there, probably not too far from you, and got to meet the Shepherd brothers that played for IU back in the day, and played for Carmel High School, and used to watch them when I was a kid. So it was a lot of fun. Kel went up there, and I think he was like a sixth or seventh grader, and won his division in shooting. And Rick said, "Hey, let's put him against the high school kids." He outshot them one, so we got a great. Rick was my high school teammate.
Let me see. Man, something's going on with my volume. I took my AirPods out because I was hearing an echo,
Okay, well,
but
live.
now I can't hear anything through my computer speakers for some reason. Let me switch
Okay,
AirPods real not AirPods real
no
quick.
problem. Go ahead and do that, and I'll do some talking here. Yeah, some things going on. I don't know if you saw where Prime, Coach Prime's getting some feedback from some other
Let's see.
coaches, including the Goober at
Let's see if
Colorado
these work.
State, which just made a huge deal. That was going to be my first question to you, Alan. Does the point spread jump up on the Colorado State game when the opposing coaches start talking smack?
Yeah. That's. I don't know why. I'm having audio issues here. Greg.
Okay, well, go
I
ahead
can't.
and log out and log back in. Sometimes that helps, and
Okay.
I
Let's
can
try that.
I can yap forever while you're doing
Okay.
that, so no hurry.
I'll be right back on.
We'll get the questions for Alan in when he comes back
Going
here
out.
in just a second. And yeah, there you go. That background noise jumped off it. Hey, live. I say radio. I've been doing that for 35 years. Live radio, TV, YouTube, whatever it is. When it's live, things go wrong. So anyway, okay. Why is my hat on backwards? Well, because I'm trying some new luck this week. Cowboys, my my Oklahoma State Cowboys, my two-time alma mater, have not been playing very well. They've won, but they played Casper the Ghost. I think Arizona State will probably finish last in the Pac-12 this year. They've got a quarterback's going to be really good though, but hopefully he can survive this season. Uh, um, yeah, Cowboys, the three-headed quarterback monster works when you're playing somebody you should beat, but will it help when you play somebody good? I don't know. We'll find out probably a week from tomorrow. Anyway, you can join us on the chat. Please do that. Don't send me text during the show. I know for years and years and years we did that. we took text on the shows, but yeah, here we want you to be on the chat. So please do that, and we'll get to those. That'll get your questions answered right away. Now when we get going, here we are a week into the show. When we get going, like some shows that are friends of mine, and they've got like 50 questions every minute, we'll have to probably do the pay for chat thing of $2 to get your chat answered or something like that. We'll certainly do that. Anyway, okay, so while we're waiting on Alan to rejoin us with his, he had some issues with his microphone. We'll get him back on, and let's see here. Okay, well, got guests, Alan Cashman, head of the stage. There he is. Alan, am I doing this right?
I think so. I hear you.
Okay, now I can't hear you.
You can't. I hear you.
I've got your video on. Wonder why I can't hear Alan. Say something, Alan.
Testing 1 2. I hear you fine.
See you just fine. Not hearing a word.
Let me see here.
Let's see. Maybe you need to jump on with your cell phone too. Okay, let's figure this out here. Let me. Yes. Invite. Okay, Alan, can you hear me?
I hear you.
There we go. Okay, well, maybe I don't know if it had anything to do with me logging out and logging back in again, but here we are, and hopefully didn't lose too many viewers. But okay, let's get after it. I know. Now here's the deal. Everybody's going to want to know about, the bigger matchups and the matchups everybody's talking about. But you are certainly different, and I like that in a good way. You're more about winning. I mean, everybody's going to bet on the big TV games and all that, but there's no value in that. You find the games that have value where the spread is off. Let's talk about that first and foremost, because I know the folks on here, they want to win.
Absolutely. You want to talk? You ready to talk about the games?
Yeah, go ahead. Well,
Yeah.
give me a couple, because I know you're different. You're not just out there for the popularity games and all that. You're for the games that are undervalued, the games that have value, and talk about some of those games because hey, we want to win, right?
Yeah, and this wasn't a great week of games, really. Had to really scour to find a couple of, and I'm not a big double-digit point spread favorite better, but one of these that I'm going to go after again is Cincinnati. I actually liked Cincinnati last week. We talked about them a little bit. They are minus 14 at home to Miami of Ohio. I actually bought this down to minus 13 and a half. I rarely bet double-digit favorites, but like I said, this is one of the worst weeks of college football that I can remember in recent memory. So I went through, like I said, on Cincinnati since week one. The Bearcats last week, they went to Pitt, 127-21. They held Pitt 10 for 32 completions, which is just horrible. Opponents are now passing 40.4% versus the Cincinnati defense. You look at Cincinnati, they're completing 70% of their passes, led by Emory Jones. He's thrown for 7 touchdowns so far and has a 199.1 rating at quarterback. Cincinnati's rushing for over 5 yards per carry as a team. They're led by Corey Kiner. He has 7.1 yards per carry so far. And then you look at Cincinnati's receivers. I talked about them last week, how good this team was in space and how fast they were. Their wide receivers right now with Pro Football Focus, which is a very good resource to use to see how some of these teams match up. They're getting an 85 grade right now in wide receivers, and that's number 3 in college football right now. You look at Miami of Ohio, routed in the first game at Miami of Florida. They only 7 yards per carry, and they're allowing on defense 70% completions right now. Pro Football Focus also gives Miami of Ohio a grade of 36.7 for tackling. That's 130th out of 133 teams at FBS. Not very good in that area. Rush defense at 63.4, which is 103rd in college football. And you look at Cincinnati's rushing offense, that's an 80.5 grade, which is number 25 in college football. So Cincinnati's defense, 8 sacks through the first 2 games of the season, number 15th in college football right now. And this Miami pass block is only graded at 58.9, which is 87th in college football. My only worry here about Cincinnati is that they have Oklahoma next week. So do they rest anybody late in this game if they're up big and allow a possible backdoor cover for Miami of Ohio here? But Cincinnati, a good 7-point teaser as well here. But I think I'm going to take Cincinnati by that half point. I'll take them minus 13 as the home favorite. They've won the last 4 versus Miami of Ohio by 21 or more points.
Yeah, when I grew up, Miami of Ohio was the cradle of coaches with Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler, all those guys, and they used to be pretty good back in the 70s and 80s, but they've certainly fallen on hard times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cincinnati, of course, getting ready, as you mentioned, going to take on Oklahoma next week. Preview of that game at all in your head? I mean, what do you think the spread will be on that? Because I just had to know you guys text me.
It's at Oklahoma?
I think that's right, yeah.
Well, it's going to depend on how Cincinnati really looks this week. If they come out and destroy a bad team like a good team's supposed to do, then that'll help the spread here. I'm going to guess that assuming Cincinnati has a big game and a good game against Miami of Ohio and Miami of Ohio and does what they're supposed to do, I would say probably Oklahoma 7.5 or so. I'm not really sure what Oklahoma has yet either. You look at them last week against SMU. SMU actually outgained them by a couple yards in the game. They were even in first downs. Oklahoma led 14-3. But SMU actually has a pretty good defense. They're not as good an offense as they have been in past. So I think actually Oklahoma has a good chance this weekend to put up some numbers against Tulsa's defense, who has the 45.3 grade in tackling, which is 125th in FBS. So actually going to be looking for some maybe some receiver touchdown props and maybe some passing props for the Oklahoma game at Tulsa this weekend.
What are a couple of other games that you're looking at that the spread might be off a little bit?
Well, I actually like Syracuse at Purdue. I like Syracuse here now.
That Purdue game right last week.
Yeah, I was right. Virginia Tech's not very good.
Yeah.
And I actually thought Purdue had a little more trouble with Virginia Tech than they should have had. I'm actually going to take Syracuse on the money line here. They're 2.5-point favorites. I think you'll probably be okay laying the points at 2.5, but I'm actually going to take them. Got it around between minus 120 and minus 130 on the money line. I'm going to take Syracuse on the money line here. Syracuse, they really haven't played any sort of competition yet, but they've been strong. And like I mentioned earlier, one thing good teams do is they put away bad teams in convincing fashion. That's what Syracuse has done. They've outscored Colgate and Western Michigan 113-7 in their first 2 games. They combined for over 1,100 yards of offense in those 2 games. So you've got Garrett Schrader at quarterback. He's a dual threat QB, completing over 68% of his passes right now. He's going for 6.5 yards per carry. And then Syracuse has 2 solid running backs in Allen and Daniels. They both rushing for over 5 yards per carry right now. Pro Football Focus, they have this Syracuse defense graded right now as the 3rd best tackling team in the country. Purdue's defense graded at 104th in tackling, so they've not been very good on defense. As far as pass coverage, you look at Syracuse is graded number 4 in pass coverage. Purdue, 119th in pass coverage. That's 19th worst in college football. They had trouble against a good offensive team in Fresno State in week 1. No passing touchdowns last week for Purdue's offense at Virginia Tech. Purdue actually controlled the clock here with over 38 minutes of possession, but they couldn't put what I think is a very low-rated Virginia Tech team. They couldn't put them away. Purdue last year in this meeting, 2.8 yards per carry, and I think Syracuse is better than they were last year. I'm not sure that changes a whole lot in this game. And I looked at Purdue's schedule in July. I thought when I told my customers that I thought Fresno State was a possible upset in week 1, turned out to be the case. kind of figured they beat Virginia Tech, but I also had Syracuse as a loss this week too, and I'm going to stick with that. Not as talented of a Purdue team as they've had last season. They struggled against Fresno State, like I said. They couldn't put Virginia Tech away, and I think Syracuse is going to be the best team that Purdue's played right now. So I'm going to take Syracuse on the money line, somewhere between minus 120 and minus 130 on Saturday.
So taking Syracuse and Cincinnati so far. Maybe one other game you want to tease a little bit that you like the spread?
Well, nothing to the spread. I will kind of watch the Oklahoma State game. I know you got a lot of Oklahoma State fans here. I want to look for some prop bets when that come up for maybe a receiving touchdown prop for Stribling or Presley of Oklahoma State, maybe a rushing touchdown for Ollie Gordon, and maybe a rushing touchdown for LaDamian Webb of South Alabama. I went back and looked at some of Oklahoma State's game at Arizona State. I didn't like the way they looked against the run early on. I went and looked them up on Pro Football Focus. They had a 34.8 grade in tackling.
Yeah, you wouldn't have liked them the week before that either. They let an FCS guy run all over them. So you're exactly right on that. Prop bet's the way to go, isn't it?
Yep. They're 119th in college football right now in run defense, which is fifth worst in FBS. So I think running the football might be the best thing South Alabama does. And LaDamian Webb, he runs for over 7 yards per carry in the first two games. You look at South Alabama, they're graded second worst on defense in college football in pass coverage. So, Oklahoma State's pass rush is pretty good, 8 sacks. I think South Alabama gave up 8 sacks in the opener versus Tulane. And Oklahoma State, you look at them, they haven't really played anyone. They couldn't put Arizona State away. Arizona State led that game 15-10 at the half. But I don't think Oklahoma State is explosive enough on offense to maybe take advantage of some of this bad coverage that South Alabama has. So I think Oklahoma State wins the game. I think the spread's 7 or 7.5. But I think probably I want to wait maybe tonight. They're not out yet. Maybe later tonight or in the morning. Look for these player props for receiving touchdown for Stribling or Presley, like I said, or maybe a rushing touchdown for Ollie Gordon.
Perfect segue. Go to the see, I typed in one time. I typed in CashmanWins.com and it still went to you. So
it did. I have that domain as well. Okay. I actually had to enter the Circa NFL contest. They wouldn't allow the on the front of the website, so I actually just bought entered as CashmanWins.com and bought that domain.
Smartest thing I ever did was also get the domain name not only GregSwain.com but Greg Swain, because so many people miss.
Absolutely.
And after years, I didn't need it anymore, so got rid of it. But yeah, that's the way to do it. So CashmanWins.com or thecashmanwins.com takes you to the same place. $52. That's all. $1 a week to get all the college picks. And this guy wins almost at a 70% clip. Was it like 69.3 last year or something?
69.7 the last 2 years in the NFL and 63.7 NFL college football combined the last 2 years.
Incredible. And you can get his package. Just go to thecashmanwins.com. Click either the college or the pro or the both or whatever. Make money. Once again, your spouse doesn't get mad at you for betting. They get mad at you for losing. So don't lose. Win more than 2 out of every 3 games with Alan Cashman at thecashmanwins.com. Hey, Alan, let's talk a little bit about, I had a question of the day.
I lost you.
Okay, I cut my.
There you are.
That's what I get for being on the phone instead of the computer. Computer still. Look, just to let you know, I'm not kidding. It's still updating. Anyway.
Wow.
We'll get that. I don't know. Microsoft. What are you gonna do? All right. I had a question the other day because these teams, like when Nebraska went to Colorado, you hear a little bit about the altitude. If you're not used to it, it gets to you. And there's got to be something to it. I mean, it's the reason our Olympic kids work out at Colorado Springs, right? To get, it makes their lungs stronger working that. How much of a deal is that? Because I know coaches that are in the altitude go, hey, hope your team can make it. Hope you can breathe, all that. And coaches who are going there go, oh, it's no big deal. We'll be fine. What do you put anything into that when, like, Colorado or somebody in the mountains is hosting a game?
I think if you're playing a team in like Nebraska's fairly close. You look at their roster. I don't know for sure as far as how many kids they have from Colorado on their roster, but I think that has something to do with it. I think maybe Nebraska may have some players on there that are familiar with that team like Nebraska. Now Colorado's gonna have Colorado State this week, so probably got a
I
lot
would
of kids on there
imagine.
familiar with it. But yeah, I think it would go on a case by case basis. I'm sure it does impact some players more than it would others, and some teams more than it would others. But it definitely is a factor.
I think when we had you earlier and you were having some audio issues, or maybe it was me cutting in and out on this phone, uh, we were talking a little bit about how much Colorado State's coach may have upped the Colorado point spread a little bit.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some incentive to run the score up on that game. I think. I think it would be funny if Dion goes to whoops him after the game and then goes and shakes his hand and takes his sunglasses and his hat off when he goes to shake his hand after the game. I thought that would be pretty fitting.
Is
Yeah, I don't know what Coach Norville was thinking about that. Doesn't I don't think it's going to bode well for him. I don't think they have what it takes to hang with what the way Colorado has looked the first couple games.
on the NIL stuff and the portal, maybe more importantly, because I'm so close to these kids and recruiting and all that. I've known for years all the cheating that's going on, so I don't really think NIL is as big of a deal. But the portal, where you can go instantly, is a much bigger deal. And at
Oh yeah.
first, I thought, the NIL and the portal combined is going to help the blue bloods out. If anything, it's done the opposite. You agree?
Yeah, and you look at a program like Colorado. That's he's going to attract those kind of Dion's going to attract those kind of guys. He's not necessarily an X's and O's coach. He's a recruiter and he's a motivator,
Yeah.
and he's going to get those. That's what he's going to do at Colorado. That's what he's done. He's really turned that program on its head for in a good way, and got rid of a lot of players and brought in players from the portal. And
You couldn't have
you see
done
what it's
this three
done.
years. This was you couldn't have done this 3 years ago, right?
No,
I mean,
absolutely not.
and it's just amazing. And people this week were talking about, oh, his goal is to, be a pro coach. Why?
Yeah,
And I tell this to every college football and basketball coach who takes our service, and I argue with them sometimes in a good natured way. It's like, coach, you're such a great recruiter. I'm not saying you're not a great coach too, but
yeah.
you're a better coach when you got players. And if you go to the NFL, you kind of take what your team can afford or draft.
Exactly right. And that's why Matt Rule, all these coaches that went to the pros and didn't succeed, when they're in college, you're your own GM. You're getting your own players. When you're going to the pros, you're expecting someone else to be competent and get you what they can afford or know how to evaluate talent or things like that. Well, that's why these college coaches don't translate into the pros because they're not their own general manager. They're not necessarily picking the players and evaluating talent like they are in college. And it's some guys you just can't coach. If you're not good enough, you're not good enough.
No, that's exactly right. Exactly right. Hey, Alan, before I let you go, let's talk about maybe a few pro games that you got your eye on, for value. We're not talking about the biggest games that everybody's going to watch on TV. We're not talking about who your team is. We're talking about, do you want to make some money? And that's what Alan Cashman's all about. That's where you go to Cashman Wins or thecashmanwins.com and win every weekend. $52 for his college package. What is it, like 90 something for your pro package?
You can
And
get everything. You can get everything for 1 year for the $52. That it covers all sports.
oh,
So that's
that's
everything that I
NFL
sent.
too. Wow,
Yeah,
that's even better than I thought, my man. Yeah,
yeah.
for you regular guys that might bet, a couple $100 a week. We're not talking about, you got millions to blow and go to Vegas every weekend in your private plane. We're talking the other 99% of the guys, right? And everybody wins with Allen because, like I said, almost 70% on college. Find anybody else who does that. They don't.
Yep. Well, we win long term, and regardless, I'm charging $1 a week. You're not going to feel like you've been ripped off or taken advantage of. And I'm catering to people that are working folks that really work hard for their dollar, but still want to be involved in the betting process. And there's so many people that do what I do that want to charge you $50 a day or $199, $200 a month, and And when I first got into this, I saw that, and I said, well, maybe I can do this differently and still make it successful. And it's been a big, I made it work, and I can sleep at night too. I don't feel bad. I don't feel like I'm taking advantage of anybody either.
What's that movie with McConaughey and Pacino?
Yeah.
Two for the what was it? I can't even remember what it is. I watched that again a couple weeks ago, and I was thinking about you because we just kind of met online, and then you mentioned that like because that was his problem. When a guy lost and he tells him, "No, I've lost my family," you don't have to run into that, and I really appreciate that because, as we know, gambling is a double-edged sword. And people get addicted to it just like they do drugs or
Absolutely.
something else. Those people, we recommend you don't gamble and you go get help. But for the other 99% of you, or 95 or whatever it is, Alan Cashman is the guy for you at the cashmanwins.com. And you can't forget that name, Cash. The cashmanwins.com. Alan Cashman, it's so good having you on. You got any parting shots for us? Anything we need to keep an eye out for in the gambling world?
I'll be going over player props tonight. Maybe have some stuff sent out on Twitter. Watch these NFL games this week. You have some home dogs and at some key numbers here. You look at, for example, you've got Jacksonville is a 3 or 3.5 point home underdog to Kansas City. I would have been on Jacksonville here, but they've got a couple of linemen that are questionable. I'm not sure for sure that they're out yet. Don't want to back a team that's missing a couple of starting offensive linemen. You've got Cincinnati hosting Baltimore. 3 or 3.5 point favorite there for Cincinnati. That's a key number. Baltimore has had some trouble at Cincinnati in the past. And now another home dog, Arizona's +4 or +4 at home to the New York Giants. Now, Arizona is not a very good team, but I thought defensively they looked pretty good against Washington. They had 6 sacks. The Giants gave up 7 sacks to Dallas on Sunday Night Football. Their defense didn't look bad, but their offense was horrible, and it was making it harder on their defense. But Dallas did not have a great offensive game. It was just the Giants' offense
Giants
basically
came
gave it
bearing
everything.
gifts. The
Yeah,
Giants
they
came
just
bearing blood. I couldn't believe that start. That was like
they couldn't get any momentum after
quasi
that start. They
Cowboys.
were just all uphill after that.
Do you have an NFL team that you kind of pull for besides the Colts?
Well, I like the Bears, but once you start betting on these teams, you kind of lose you just that allegiance is not there. Like I still like to see the Bears do well. I think out of all the teams that I still root for in all of sports, Indiana basketball is probably the team I'm still really loyal to. I'd love to see the Cincinnati Reds win another World Series. They haven't won one since I was in junior high school in 1990. But I still like to see the Bears do well, but I have no problem betting against any of my favorite teams. You just when you're betting on when it becomes money, you're kind of lose any kind of loyalty, and your loyalty is on the team that can win you money that week.
Best story I can give you for that, Alan. Uh, at Michigan State under Judd Heathcote, Kelvin Sampson was an assistant, and I first met him. He took our recruiting service. Then he went to be head coach at Wazoo. Took our stuff there. He comes down to Oklahoma, has me come speak to his camps, and we're sitting there talking. I go, we've never really got to know each other well and all that. He puts his arm around me, goes, aren't you an Oklahoma State grad? I didn't really have to worry about that at Michigan State or at the Wazoo. And I go, well, Coach, I'm a two-time Oklahoma State grad, but I'll tell you what, when it comes to my business, I'm only for one color, and that's green. He puts his arm around, squeezes me, goes, buddy, we're on the same side.
Yep.
So, and most coaches are, let's be honest, they're mercenaries, right? So they're not all at their alma mater. But Al, it's so good talking to you every Friday, and we look forward to you. If you got any tips for us on, Monday night or whatever, shoot them to us, and we'll get them out to the masses. But folks, $52, $1 a week. CashmanWins.com, thecashmanwins.com. Go check it out. And Alan, it's so good having you on, my friend. Have a great weekend.
All right, Greg, appreciate it. Talk to you next week.
All right. Alan Cashman, thecashmanwins.com. Appreciate him. And yeah, my computer's still, it still says updates are underway, 100% complete. Folks, it said 100% complete for, half an hour now? It's ridiculous. Anyway, thecashmanwins.com, one of our great sponsors. Also want to tell you about all the other great sponsors. And of course, you know about Karen Johnson, and go to Karen Key Largo on Twitter, follow her. And you see in the upper right hand corner, it says Greg's Gear. She's putting that together for us. You'll be able to get all the stuff you want, all you youth basketball teams, junior high, high school, college, even. She can do all your uniforms for you. We're looking forward to that because we've got a couple teams already said, hey, what kind of deal can she give us? I'm like, well, let's get you set up. Scott Hammer, of course, cruise players. He's on a cruise right now, folks. This guy leads the life of Riley for his job. Kind of like I do, right? Love what I do. We do it for free. Have done it for free. He will get you the best deal. And of course, out of Orem, Utah. A great place to be. BYU fan, can't wait to meet him in person. Scott Hammer, cruise planners. You can get him on Twitter, X, whatever, Facebook. Scott Hammer, Hammer Time. Good guy. And of course, Helping Hands, Ray of Sunshine, Mark and Cindy Welch, our good buddies, and have been for, gosh, almost 30 years. Can you believe that? We met when our kids were playing t-ball together, and Mark was coaching them. And yeah, his daughter Bailey, and she's got two daughters coming up. I can't wait to scouted her when she was 5 years old. It's like she's playing with the boys and beating their butts. So Bailey, one of my favorite kids of all time. Mark and Cindy Welch, our good friends. And my wife works for them too at Ray of Sunshine, Helping Hands. Helping Hands, Ray of Sunshine. I'll get that right one day. Anyway, okay, that's about going to wrap up this show. So we want to get those picks in because you want to go watch college football right now, which everybody's doing. And tomorrow, Saturday, yay, my favorite day of the week. Have a great weekend, everyone.